So moving forward further in Ezekiel, chapter 16, 49 through 50, Ezekiel says, um, let me get to it. Okay, so yes, Ezekiel chapter 16, 49 and 50, it says, look, this was the era of Sodom and her sister, and her daughters were proud and had an abundance of food and carefree tranquility, yet they did not support the afflicted and the poor. So they remained haughty and carried on detestable practices in my sight. So I found it necessary to remove them. It's pretty serious again. So moving forward once more, this is further proof that not only immoral or at least sexual acts that was unapproved to God or unapproved by God, they were other things they were doing as well. Greed, being evil, neglecting the poor, not sharing, etc., etc. They were doing a lot of heinous things, obviously, that truly upset God, outside of those sexual acts as well. In Romans, we'll jump to Romans now and cover further. So in Romans, which will be chapter 1, 26 to 27, it says, that is why God gave them over to disgraceful sexual passion, for their females changed the natural use of themselves into one contrary to nature. Likewise, also the males left the natural use of the female and became violently inflamed in their lust toward one another. Males with males, working what is obscene and receiving in themselves the full penalty which was due for their error. Again, sounds pretty serious to me. So this is a blatant statement in the Bible, a verse that says God detects, man on man, woman on woman, man on beast, etc., etc. There's even verses in here that says he detests when a man cheats on his wife with another woman, and vice versa. A woman cheating with a man, her man with another guy, etc. So these were things that were detestable to God based on what these verses say. And to continue again, we're now going to 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 9 through 10. Now, in 1 Corinthians, it says in chapter 6, verses 9 through 10, it says, or do you not know that unrighteous people will not inherit God's kingdom? Do not be misled. Those who are sexually immoral, adulterers, men who submit to homosexual acts, men who practice homosexuality, thieves, greedy people, drunkards, revilers, and extortioners will not inherit God's kingdom. So again, he's explaining all the things that were occurring in certain areas and throughout that he did not approve, and they were not going to inherit his kingdom, and they were going to be removed from the earth, of course, destroyed. And in these verses, not only were the people themselves destroyed, but he destroyed the actual lands as well. So God was pretty serious about removing these acts. And let's go to 1 Timothy now, chapter 1, verses 9 through 10. And in 1 Timothy, it says, recognizing that law is made not for the righteous man, but for those who are lawless and rebellious, ungodly and sinners, disloyal and profane, murderous of fathers and murderous of mothers, manslayers, sexually immoral people, men who practice homosexuality, kidnappers, liars, perjurers, and turn the page, and everything else that is in opposition to the wholesome teaching. So again, he explains the numerous things that these men and women were doing that he did not approve of. And finally, I'm going to jump to Jude, verse 7, and cover what was said there. In the same manner, Sodom and Gomorrah and the cities around them also gave themselves over to gross sexual immorality, and pursued unnatural fleshly desires. They are placed before us as a warning example by undergoing the judicial punishment of everlasting fire. So once more, there are verses in here that sound pretty serious that God was not playing. But my question is always the same. It's like, obviously God knew these things were occurring, and I feel like, did he warn them to stop? Like, how did it become so horrendous? Like, surely it had a starting point and it got worse and worse over time, and all these things that we're doing just continue to evolve seemingly to make him just destroy them completely. But that's my question. Like, did you warn them, and how many times did you warn them? I went to the Bible to try to find counsel on that, or a verse that supports he warned them. But the only thing I found was in Genesis chapter 18, verses 23 to 26, which I'll go to it now. So in Genesis again, chapter 18, verses 23 through 26, it says, sorry, once more. All right. So in 23, 26, 23 to 23, you know what I'm saying, 23 to 26 of chapter 18. Then Abraham approached and said, will you really sweep away the righteous with the wicked? Suppose there are 50 righteous men within the city. Will you then sweep them away and not pardon the place for the sake of the 50 righteous who are inside it? It is unthinkable that you would act in this manner by putting the righteous men to death with the wicked one, so that the outcome for the righteous man and the wicked man is the same. It is unthinkable of you. Will the judge of all the earth not do what is right? Then Jehovah said, if I find in Sodom 50 righteous men in the city, I will pardon the whole place for their sake. Now, that was nice of God to say. And to continue without reading all of it, Abraham continued to question God, and he got all the way down to 10 men. If it was only 10 men, would you not destroy the entire city? And God again replied with the same response, yes, if there's only 10, I will save the entire, place for the 10 righteous men. So that kind of goes back to what I was asking. Like, you got to think about it. It's two completely whole cities. So we're talking children, I'm sure infant babies somewhere around there, who at the time, I'm sure the youth and these infant babies, they were completely innocent. They were innocent of what their parents, guardians, or watchovers were doing. They had not had a chance to sin yet. And that is my question. Did God still destroy all of them as well? If he only asked Lot and his family to leave, then obviously my answer is yes, they were all destroyed, even those. But it's kind of a bit contradictory, because Abraham asks, hey, if there's only 10, will you save the entire lands? And based on what happens in the Bible, no, I guess not even 10 righteous men or women or whatever were found there. But again, I ask the same question. What about the children? What about the infants? Even the animals. The animals, I'm sure, wasn't practicing wicked ways like that. They were just owned by someone and probably get mishandled themselves. I don't know, but it did say the beast should be destroyed as well if it is used in a manner that was unspeakable by man. So I guess that part answers it. So just moving forward, just to answer my other question, well, not answer my question, but to state and plain, Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed. And to support that, let's go back to Genesis once again, where it explains the destruction, chapter 19, verses 23 to 26. And it says here in 23 to 26, the sun had risen over the land when Lot arrived at Zoar. This was the place he evacuated to nearby. Maybe Zoar. I may be mispronouncing it, but that's the love of this. It's honest and it's raw. Again, the sun had risen over the land when Lot arrived at Zoar. Then Jehovah made it rain sulfur and fire on Sodom and Gomorrah. It came from Jehovah, from the heavens. So he overthrew these cities, yes, the entire district, including all the inhabitants of the cities and the plants of the ground. But Lot's wife, who was behind him, began to look back, and she became a pillar of salt. Wow, amazing. So that explains that, maybe that answers my question, that everyone, children, innocent children as well as infants, were destroyed along with their parents and guardians who performed these heinous acts and committed all these just unforgivable sins and wrongdoings. They were all destroyed, sadly. I wish the Bible was a bit more detailed in those things. I also have to question Lot's wife. The Bible never even mentioned her name. It's like, did she not deserve a name? She was Lot's wife. Lot was Abraham's brother. They resided in Sodom. She turned into salt because in the earlier verses, the angels warned them not to look back once the city is being destroyed. She unfortunately looked back and turned to a pillar of salt. The Bible also doesn't share any verses where the family mourned, where Lot and his daughters mourned for the death of his wife and their mother. It's like, what? Well, I'm sure they were sad. Like, even though they escaped to Zoar, that other area, were they not sad? The Bible shows no type of story or verse that says they mourned her, the loss of her, and question, why did you look back? You were warned not to look back. I will be hurt. And I think I may have been reminding my family, don't you look back. We're going this way. We ain't going backwards. I think I would have reminded them greatly, do not look back. So again, it's just, I know this is little. It may be, I may be over technical, but when you're telling a story, sometimes these things I feel should be in there somewhere. They should not be left out. So I guess that does kind of answer my question that everyone destroyed.